Hi, this is Loren from the Tanglewood Wellness Center, coming to you from Costa Rica, and I've been asked to talk a little bit about how do we make the mental shift sometimes. You know, if you've been around alternative health for a long time, you're probably indoctrinated with some of the beliefs that some of the people here are, which is that we need to be consuming supplements, and we need superfoods, and maybe we need juices, and we need all these things to become as healthy as we can be. So the question is, how do we make the leap? How do we shift from there? Well, you know, the first piece is a piece that I've offered to you on several occasions already. I'm going to offer it to you again. If you watch my videos, you've probably heard me say this dozens of times. And that is that nature is perfect, okay? And we're never going to improve on it because you can't improve on perfection. So when humans get involved with nature, it tends to wind up being less perfect than it was before we got involved. And the point here is simply that there are approximately 800,000 animal species on the planet. So let me ask you guys, first of all, how many of those species do you think function at a higher level of health than human beings do? Pretty much all of them. I would agree with you. Pretty much all of them do. Okay? Heart disease is virtually unknown in the natural world. Cancer used to be unknown. It's unfortunately not anymore. Why not? Because we're polluting the environment. As humans destroy the environment, the toxicity in the water, in the air, in the soil affects every other species as well. So some of you have probably heard about they're now finding that there's been a significant amount of radiation from the reactor in Japan. And it's affecting fish, and it's affecting all kinds of species, okay? You know, they didn't do anything to cause this problem. They're getting disease now, but that's because of what human beings have done. Right? So every species functions at a higher level than human beings do. Now, how many of those species, 800,000 of them functioning at a higher level than us, are doing so because they're using supplements? No? Well, how about smoothies? I mean, they've got to be using green smoothies because I've heard you can't get healthy without them. Right? Oh, no, they don't have blenders, do they? Oh, juices though. They've got juicers. They've got little juice shops, don't they? Mm-hmm. No. What do? What does every other species do to attain its amazing level of health? A, it resides in the body, not in the head. What do I mean? Well, everything that you asked about stems from what we think we should be doing. Your body has never once said to you, hey man, get me a supplement. Okay? That's a thought that was placed in your head at some point that you accepted, you bought into. I bought into it a long time ago too. But that's what stems from living up here, not from living in the body. Animals live in the body. And living in their bodies, they consume, for the most part, only those things that their bodies were designed to consume. Now, where are there exceptions to that? There are some exceptions. Raccoons, for instance. Okay? Raccoons who live around human beings quickly learn that there are very high calorie substances available in trash cans. Right? You see, they are opportunistic animals. And like other animals, I mean, animals are looking for sources of calories. Because in nature, sometimes it's hard to find food. So raccoons are looking for dense sources of calories, and what they find is someone's disposed of ice cream container or whatever it might be. And they'll eat it because it tastes good and it meets their body's needs for these calories. It's a dense source of nutrition, calories if not nutrition. But of course it creates problems for them. So if we eliminate all the processed garbage out of the equation and we're only looking at whole, natural, real foods, every other species is only going to consume what its body's designed to consume. And they always get all their needs met, without exception. We can too. Remember, there are deficiencies out there, and there are deficiencies in people who are eating well. I responded to an email today from someone who was dealing with some deficiency issues and said, what can I do? This is a person who's eating what I would call an optimal diet. But if you're dealing with a deficiency condition, there are really only two possible solutions, two possible causes for that problem. One, your diet is not sufficient. Okay? And what I mean by your diet is not sufficient, I don't mean you're not consuming enough supplements. I mean the foods that you're eating don't contain what you need them to contain. So first of all, are you eating the things, and only those things, that the human body was designed for? Those are all things, we've talked about this as a group, but real briefly for everybody else, are they things you're attracted to? Are they things you can easily digest and get the nutrients from? Kale, collard greens, and cabbage may have tons of nutrients, but human beings don't digest those things very well because they're high cellulose content. In my opinion, not food for the human body. Okay? So are you consuming those things that the human body was actually designed for? Are you consuming them organically? Are they organic foods? Why does that matter? Because organic foods have been shown in a couple of studies to have between 2 and 20 times the nutrient content. This is true because if you're going to grow food in soil without the benefit of commercial pesticides and fertilizers, you actually need to have the nutrients in the soil. And the nutrients in your food come from the nutrients in the soil. Commercial food is grown by fertilizing dead soil with sodium, potassium, nitrogen. Right? That's it. That's all they put in there. That alone will give you a tomato, will allow the tomato plant to produce tomatoes, as long as you've got those three things back in the soil. Here's the problem. The tomato, without the whole collection of nutrients that should be in the soil, what's the tomato going to taste like? Pretty much like a red bag of water. Okay? It doesn't have much flavor because the flavor comes from the nutrition. So organic produce tends to taste better because it has more nutrients. And it has to have the nutrients because without the nutrients, the pests attack it and you don't get anything. The plant has to be strong to survive in the absence of pesticides, to be able to produce food in the absence of pesticides. And that means the nutrients have to be in the soil. And that means the nutrients are going to be in your food. So are you eating the diet that your body was designed for? Whole foods, not relying on smoothies and juices, which actually make it harder to get what you need, okay? And make your body work much harder. Are you consuming things organic? And are you meeting the rest of your body's needs? Because if you're not getting enough sleep on a consistent basis, you're going to have a hard time getting the most out of no matter what you eat. It doesn't matter how good it is. You're going to have a hard time getting what you need from it. Are you dealing with the emotional stuff in your life? Okay? Emotional stresses. Because if you're not, if you're stressed all the time, your body's going to get very little benefit from what you eat. Okay? So there's a bunch of factors that we need to pay attention to. But I think the starting point is to understand that, like every other species, everything we need was supplied for us in nature. We don't need machines. Okay, we don't need superfoods. We don't need anything processed in any way. We just need to be consuming the things that our bodies were designed for to get what we need from the food. Now the other piece is, right, because there were two causes. One, is the diet sufficient? And that's how we make sure the diet's sufficient. But what's the other cause? What if the diet is sufficient, like in the person I heard from today, but they're still not getting what they need? What does that mean? Anybody?
The stuff is in there and their body can't access it.
This stuff is in there, but the body's not able to access it somehow. And I would suggest to you that this is happening a lot of the time today. This happens with B12 all the time. As vegans and vegetarians, some of you have been scared into thinking you should probably be looking at B12 supplements. And yet the fact is, people who eat animal products every day have exactly the same rate of clinical B12 deficiency problems as vegans and vegetarians. What does that mean? They're consuming tons of B12, but they're not getting it into their cells. It's not a problem of consuming enough. It's a problem of being able to actually assimilate or access it. The same is true with all kinds of things. So if you're eating an optimal diet and not getting what you need, you probably need to fast long enough and properly to allow your body to cleanse itself so that you can get what you need from what's already there. And as I pointed out to you guys before, we frequently see people who come in here with potassium or magnesium or iron or B12 deficiencies and resolve them while they're fasting. Happens over and over again. Okay? So those are the two things. If those two things are handled, that is, your body's clean and efficient, and you're eating the diet your body was designed for, you will get everything you need, just like every other species on the planet has no problem getting everything they need. The problem is that most people have been frightened into thinking they need to do this, they need to take that. And part of it is the paradigm we live in. See, you may not realize this, but chances are good you've been living under a paradigm that says disease is inevitable. That is the prevailing paradigm in the world today, at least in the United States. Disease is inevitable. How do I know that? Why am I suggesting that's the prevailing paradigm? Well, how many people tell you you should eat this because it's got these anti-cancer nutrients? In other words, if you don't consume these cruciferous vegetables, you're going to get cancer. No, I'm not. Cancer arises as a result of exposure over a long period of time to toxic substances. Whether you know it or not, whether you're making the choices or not, or whether you're simply in a situation that is what it is, that's what's going on there. So if you're not exposing yourself to toxic substances, you're not going to get cancer, whether you're eating the broccoli or not. You don't need those specific phytonutrients if you're not putting yourself at risk in the first place. So what if we simply cleanse and heal our bodies and then stop putting ourselves at risk? Cancer should never appear under those circumstances. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Right, so it's a different paradigm. The paradigm that I'm offering to you says not only is disease not inevitable, but perfect health is inevitable when we simply get out of the body's way and allow it to show up. That's all we need to do. If you're watching this from home and you're dealing with some issues or worried about your health, I want you to know you can feel and function better than you ever have at an amazing level of health and vitality. All you have to do is learn how to get out of your body's way and meet its needs. You don't need all that stuff that we've all been led to believe that we need. We don't need the supplements, we don't need the superfoods, we don't need the juices and smoothies, we don't need to take special measures. We simply need to get out of the body's way and give it what it was designed for. Amazing health is the result for us just as surely as it is for every other species on the planet. Why would it be different for us? It's not. Okay? Any questions about that? Does that help? Okay, good.